Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining the Becoming Unshakable podcast. Today, I'm feeling like a little spicy. And what I mean by that, this is what kind of the kids call it, but spicy is this. You know, sometimes, you can get you can be speaking your own message and listen to yourself a little too much. I don't know if that makes any sense. So, eh, I've been talking about resilience for years, embedded in all of my work around caring leadership, just leadership generally, culture. And I believe deeply in the power of resilience, the tools that help us become more resilient, the strategies that we use to get there. And I'm starting to believe more and more about that resilience, the way we totally and currently understand resilience, which is just like plowing forward, which is just like hitting the walls, overcoming in nonstop mode, with like thinking that we can do this indefinitely, is something I'm changing my mind on. And that is because I had an epiphany for myself that, well, I'm a highly resilient person. I definitely have the thickness of skin. I absolutely have the ability to bounce back. I can teach people strategies and different things and tools to help them do that, show them exactly the steps I took, and that I take every day whenever I need to, and the things that I employ. And I think plowing forward, focusing on grit, focusing on determination nonstop is overrated. And I think that what we need to do and focus on now is having this resilience plus mindset. So it's resilience, yes, stick to itness, like the grit, the perseverance, but it has to be coupled with a big dose of self care, self leadership, self advocacy, self feedback, self listening. And so when I'm saying this is I don't think we need to be centered on self to the extent that we're self centered. Okay, that so if you've been hearing and listening to me for years and years, you know I believe so much in pouring into others and into being there for them and to truly seeing them and being present there and giving them what they need. And you know I'm never ever going to stop believing that or doing that or embodying that. And am really in 2025 and 2026 will be leaning so hard and heavy into this yes and concept that I picked up when I went through improv. So I kind of have always been that way, but I do think actually improv, just two different courses I took, opened up my mind so much to that I don't have to take one path or another, but that there could be both paths that happen simultaneously. Um, I've had people allude to that, like I have to only pick one lane. And I know with marketing, it's much easier when you just like pick this or pick that. And at the same time, I know that I am a multifaceted human. I can be both resilient and I can also feel exhausted. I can hit a wall and bounce back, and I can also need to ground myself. I can be there for my team and kind of take the hits for my team and like advocate for that team. And I also know that if I don't kind of provide an armor for myself, which is not just grit, but it's self care and it's deep breaths and it's prayer and it's time with family and it's making sure that I set my own boundaries in my life and in my work. So I know that there's things that I need to do, and those things are absolutely required to then be able to remain resilient and also keep my sanity, uh, keep my nervous system intact, keep myself calm and clear for those who look to me. And make no doubt about it, there is no doubt here that it does not matter your title. If you have kids at home, nieces and nephews at home, animals at home, anybody home, they feel when you are not grounded, centered, and calm. When your peace has been compromised in a very severe way, where you're exhausted or you're burnt out, they feel that. So I do think that we want to continue to build resilient organizations, resilient teams that can withstand all the things that are happening in the world. We need to be individually that way and be leaders of teams that are that way. I 100% will always believe that we need those things. But I'm actually starting to think that we need to utilize resilience as a skill-based framework. So what I mean by that is understanding specific methods and strategies to allow yourself to kind of hop over the things that come your way. And then in between those times, we need to nourish ourselves in any ways that we feel nourished by. I don't want to place judgment on that. I don't want to just give you a list that make you think it's exhaustive. I think that there is a way that we find our way through to the place that we find nourishment when we also pair it with that need to be bounced back, that need to be strong, the need to know that we can get up when we fall down. It becomes harder and harder to know that we can get up when we fall down if we have not properly nourished ourselves, if we are not living in our values. I can say this personally. I was at a retreat early last year in 2024, and I remember coming off of my most successful year ever, to be honest, in my life as an entrepreneur, and to be honest, just working as a working human financially. And I come off of it going, okay, do I want more of that? I'm not sure I want more of exactly that. Like I started to feel I need to figure out exactly what I want, how I want to do it, and I want to make sure that that it aligns with the values I have, and that family and faith, and those things are very important to me. They center me, they ground me, they are who I am, and I can't separate myself. A perfect example of that is when I know my children are going to be home for the holidays. I can't tell you how excited I am. And then when they're there, the level of groundedness and and security and safety I feel when they're all there. And I don't even love when they leave the house once they're there, because I'm just like, these are my little chicks in my nest. And it's just part of that idea that I know what grounds me. I know what centers me, what makes me feel safe, what makes me feel secure, what makes me feel nourished, and being with my family, and being in my faith, and being with close dear friends. I mean, the ones who can look me in my eye and that can say, I love you, and don't have any qualms about it. And I have just like a less than a handful of people who will do that for me, aside from my family and kids, of course. And so I want to commit, I know, in these next months in 2026, to really be focusing on who are those people that I can pull into the circle immediately, and we can immediately lift each other, and we can immediately, like, we can lock eyes, we can connect in such deep ways. That is how I'm choosing to nourish me. That's just one way I'm going to choose to ground me. I can be the greatest caring leader if I also do this for myself, the nourishment that's there. So, resilience is important. Taking all of the steps to become a resilient human is important. A resilient leader is important. And equally as important, we have to counterbalance that in order to keep our nervous systems in check, to keep our hearts in check, and to make sure that our stress is useful stress. We need to nourish in between. I just am finishing up a retreat in Toronto, Canada. It's called the Epic Retreat. And boy, I mean, was this a loud and clear message? Like, I'd already been talking about it, and they say what you're looking for, you get more of. And in this case, I've been talking about and speaking about unshakable leadership, knowing that I needed to expand the self leadership component of my caring leadership work to make us all unshakable. And so I come here and I hear from amazing doctors, psychologists, people who have just been through it and understand all of the science behind how we nourish ourselves and what it does for us. And it was just the perfect melding and folding in to what it is I was called to, that I knew the direction I personally need to go to. And because I know that I'm not stupid, I know I have a certain level of influence. It might not be, a peer influence, but I have a sphere, as we all do, by the way. And within our sphere, we have a choice on what it is we want to chirp. Right? What do we want the messages to be, and how do we want to embody those messages? And so today I got to speak to a group. It's about 45 people, so it's a small, intimate group. And I got to tell you, like, afterward and before, and just all the hugging and being seen and seeing others, and the tears and the deep feeling and the full presence. I mean, this is what humanity is about. So what I want you to take away from this is this. I want you to build those resilient skills. And I'll do a podcast episode that will just be about what those skills are, exactly how you can bring and call upon those when you need them. And at the same time, know that you can also let go, that you don't have to hold that like strength nonstop, that you can release, that you can nourish, that you can be human if you find the circles and the spaces that allow that kind of humanity to come through. Hey, with me, you can always be human. I really hope you continue to just listen in to the show. Know that I am your safe space, and that when I bring people on here, it is meant to fill you up, fill me up, fill the people on as the guests, and I really hope you share it far and wide. Resilience plus, resilience plus nourishment, resilience plus self-care, deep self leadership. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time. Mwah.